Hello everybody, welcome back to the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trials and Tribulations walkthrough. It is time to continue on with the trial of Maggie Bird in Recipe for Turnabout. And, forgot to say, we are in court on my birthday. I told you it was going to happen. I really did tell you what was going to happen, and it means that we are going to get through this just fine because nothing bad can happen on my birthday. I mean, clearly it can, but positive thinking. That is how you get through a lot of awful stuff. You've just got to think positively, believe that it can get better, and actively work to make it better. Otherwise, you just get stuck in a hideous loop of negativity that you just can't break out of. So, trying to be positive is basically how I've gotten to where I am emotionally right now. Oh god, I mean, my situation has helped me a lot. Like, I think if I hadn't gotten the job, temporary as it is, that I'm in now, I would have been in much more of an emotional mess. But you think positive, you keep plugging away at it, eventually good things will happen. It's the only way we can go about it, really. And you see, I told you there'd be something about kimonos with Victor Kudo a bit later on. So he does kimono embroidery. But yeah, I mean, obviously there's the whole thing of this is more present day / slightly futuristic than where we are right now. Well, I think in Japan, even though we've got the whole thing of them being very traditional, they are a lot more futuristic than they were, and there is that whole thing of the old guard dying out as time moves on. But the fact that the Ace Attorney games are sort of in the localization are meant to be set in like California type area, really there would be no need for a kimono embroiderer because who the hell wears kimonos in California other than for very specific purposes? I think we can investigate this a little further, because he seems very, very certain of it being Maggie, but I just don't believe him. I just don't believe him at all. I totally get the keep the old values alive, because in certain instances those old values are very important. I put a lot of stock in values of manners, chivalry, not in the typical sense. You don't act chivalrous just to get laid. You act chivalrous to be pleasant and polite. You hold open doors for people, you try and help people out because it's the right thing to do. I mean, there is the whole side thing of it'll make you feel good for helping other people out because that's just the way the world works. Helping other people out makes you feel fantastic, as the money song in Avenue Q so states. It's very accurate. But there are other old values that probably can do with dying. A very quick but horrible death. And I mean, if you think about it, there are some old values that have died, and thankfully so. But if I went into them now, we'd probably get quite political and now is not the time for that, because Victor Kudo is saying that he's got excellent memory about the waitress, but we've basically just heard about the waitress from her back. Did he ever see her face? I mean, this is something that I've always found very interesting, actually, is whenever you hear about people trying to catch criminals and they describe what the person looked like, often you won't get much of the facial features, largely because quite a lot of those crimes happen when it's like dark, and so you don't really get to see much of the facial features, so you go more on the clothing. So you say he was wearing like a 5'8" man with like long hair in a hoodie and jeans, and the hoodie was like grey-ish. And sometimes, you know, people cover up their faces to try and get away with things, because if you're going to try and commit a crime, try and hide your identity. I mean, obviously don't commit crimes because that's illegal and you're probably going to get caught by the police, and yeah, that's not going to end well for you. But on a purely hypothetical, logistical side of things, if you're going to commit a crime, hide your bloody face, because it makes you less identifiable, and that makes it harder to track. Obviously there's DNA and fingerprints and stuff, so you probably wouldn't wear gloves, but wearing gloves can sometimes make it difficult to pick things up. There's a whole load of things you need to think about. But yeah, don't steal things, don't commit crimes. It's not going to do anybody any good. And yes, let us test how good his memory and attention to detail is. Because if we can prove that Victor Kudo's memory's slightly buggered, then basically that means we can throw out his testimony, which means that it's 1v1 in terms of what was going on. Which means that Maggie's testimony could still stand. Yeah, we just need to prove his memory's shot. And while it is cruel, I mean, especially for someone of that age, because it could actually be something quite serious, but this is how you lawyer. Particularly if you are a defence lawyer and you're trying to prove your defendant innocent. You try and pin the blame on somebody else. You try and prove that anybody who is positively identifying your defendant as the murderer, that their testimony cannot stand for whatever reason, either because they are not altogether there mentally, either through mental illness or old age or what have you, that they are actively lying to try and hide something. You'd go through all that sort of stuff. Because, and even though that is cruel, because you are ultimately questioning somebody's character, and they may be the loveliest person in the world, but if they are essentially working against you, you're left with very little choice. This is another reason why I'd never be able to become a lawyer, because it's the whole thing of morality. I would feel awful if I was ever on a side that I disagreed with, or that I thought was wrong. I mean, to be fair, I would never represent them anyway. But you've got to be really hard to do law, because you've got to be able to tear people down to shreds in order to win cases sometimes. It's obviously more of a thing in murder trials than in like family court cases, but it can still happen there. And this is all intriguing. Very intriguing. So, he had a HMD, eh? And it's actually not really something that... Well, so HMD is ultimately head-mounted display. It's not actually a term that I've ever really come across. I suppose because like, I've never really been too bothered by virtual reality. Nice as a concept, but just doesn't do it for me. I'd just much rather play with a screen in front of me and be able to see the world around me, with the game being enclosed in a screen, because it's just much more... Because then I can shut the rest of the world out that way, but then I can still take myself out of the situation. Should I need to, I can pause it and feel fine, whereas I feel if I was playing virtual reality, then people would be really easily able to sneak up on you, and I don't know, just leaves me feeling quite uncomfortable. And also, I've not seen any games come out on it that I'm actually interested in, so what would be the point? But here we go. I think we are finally breaking through, because quite clearly something is very, very off right now. Glen Elg clearly drank the cup with his right hand. Clearly. So he had the one sip, and the cup proves that it came from one hand, so it could not have been his left hand. This is obviously getting into the nitty-gritty of facts, but ultimately we are just trying to prove that Victor Kudo's memory is not credible, and it's useless right now, because the minute details are actually very important to the case. And if you can't remember those details, then yes, he is absolutely useless to us. And, oh! I was about to go, oh yes, we've got a stay to investigate a little bit more, and that would be very helpful. But then, bloomin' Victor Kudo comes in like a nut job, ruins the whole thing. Why is there always more? Actually, that's something that's quite fun. So obviously Victor and Cody are the only characters in the franchise to give up information thanks to Mia's assets in Feminine Wilds. But they also both have scrapbooks because, well, Kudo doesn't necessarily have a scrapbook, but he was talking about his scrapbook, and obviously Cody had a scrapbook of, I think it was pictures of the Steel Samurai and his victories. And oh! A vase got broken, eh? I think we might have just found the way to shut you up, Victor. So, you really probably should not have given us that last bit of testimony, because it's what we're going to use to bring this bit of the trial to a close. Glenelg could not have knocked over the vase, or the vase, or whatever you want to call it, because it's still perfectly intact on his table. So, your memory's clearly absolutely rubbish, mate. So, take that. I mean, to be fair, I think the seeds would probably be quite painful, but we've dealt with a whip being flung out across the courtroom before. We can deal with a bit of birdseed. That's basically nothing in comparison. And, oh, now he remembers exactly how it happened. He did it. Well, you've basically just scuppered any chance of anybody here believing you, so, I believe what I want to say is get stuffed, Victor Kudo. Because, yeah, you can just sod off with that. You're not proving it useful at all. And, oh, thank God he's gone. Means we can actually sit down and focus on what is important to the case. And thankfully, as I said before, we've got another day, because she's not been positively identified and there are disparities in testimony. So we've got a bit of extra breathing space. I think that we are going to need to make serious use of this extra day of investigation, because there's a lot of things that really do not make sense. But, oh fine, if he wants to give a bit of testimony that we can use, might as well take it. You never know, it might prove useful at some point. Who knows? But anyway... Oh. That's basically useless. Oh well. Court is adjourned. It's time to get back to investigating.